So first of all, Sol, thank you very much for joining us today here at the BBC offices.
Yeah,
Um, your Panorama documentary, following a group of four people around, I believe, for 6 months. Tell me about that experience for you and what you learned.
what I learned was up and down the country you have a problem up and down the country with young black males. It's not only on their parts; it's shared. Sometimes you can't help yourself, and you're not gonna get out of problems. But the system also doesn't really help them as well because of the bosses are not used to having young black males working for them. Not used to, maybe the young black males don't know how to present themselves properly in these environments, which is not their fault because the environment they're actually from. But me learning over the last 6 months up and down the country, there is a problem, but it should be rectified because it's costing the government a lot of money, over 800 million plus.
And what kind of solutions do you think could be put in place to rectify the problem? Because I understand that you think that obviously there is a problem with employers, but how much can young black males do themselves to?
Yeah, but they are. I was in Topseth and talking to some lads over there, and they were saying, look, we've got the education, we've got the drive. We may not be from the area you want us to be from,
Yeah.
but we're really good people and we're willing to work. And we've done, we've got the degrees, but there's still blockages stopping us to kind of present ourselves. And the old saying, it's an old saying, don't judge a book by its cover, which really does ring home to me because one of the lads was saying that he was in Toxteth and he didn't have, he had his applications put in or emailed across, none at all. He took the address and said to one of his friends who was from a better area, can you send my CVs in from your house? Then he started getting applications back and responses.
So there's a postcode discrimination.
There is,
And do you think it's names as well? Certain names
I think it's names. I think it's definitely postcodes and definitely names as well. So they got a good. I think some of the employers and bosses have to look past what they've seen before. They say sometimes they want to employ people who look like them, and that's the kind of. It's almost like a safety kind of thing. I employ you. You've got the same mentality as me, and you look kind of like me, and that's almost a comfort thing, an easy thing for them to kind of fall into. But I think the young black males have, with the young black women, they're doing really well. So they are on their own. And when you look at the figures, 49% of young black males who can actually work are unemployed.
I understand the Department for Work and Pensions disputes that figure, saying more like 1 in 6 because that 49%, there are quite a lot of them.
Well, even if you take the vocational skills out, things like that, it drops down to 44%. Still a lot of people, young black males.
To young white males, it's a lot higher. I think it's 21%.
It's 1 in 9. It's 1 in 9, and the counterpart say young white males it's almost 1 in 6.
Now you say that football changed your life. If you hadn't been football, you may have been in trouble. Tell me about that.
I'm from Stratford.
Yeah.
From Stratford, yes, I've got my head screwed on, but you just never know. You are surrounded by a lot of things. You're surrounded by a certain degree of violence. You are surrounded by a certain degree of drugs. I grew up seeing that around me. On the streets. It's normal. So even if you're kind of switched on, I could easily have got sucked in if I didn't really go to football. But I did have my mind and my brains, and I knew I had to work, and I went to school, did all my school stuff, and I was conscious of that. I had to kind of, make sure I get an education, because I'm from a big family, and sometimes it's just, you work and you feed and you house, and one of 12. So my parents weren't really into education. They were saying the schools educate you. Bam, I don't need to do anything at home and things like that. It's not their fault. That's how they lived, especially in a big family. So, but in back of my mind, I always, said to myself, I had to educate myself and at school and do a little bit extra to make sure I didn't know I was going to be a footballer. I didn't know.
But you have that innate sense of confidence. Now, some youngsters
Haven't got that.
Yeah, and
I haven't got it. It's been taken out.
But how do they find it within themselves? Do you think create that right mentality?
Well, I think yes, it is difficult, but it's role models. It's also I went to a support group called Leap, and they're fantastic. They're great. But at the moment they're in trouble because they need funding, and they're fantastic. They're so when you're dealing with young black males, you've got to be, it's a particular way you've got to kind of treat them to get the best out of them, and it almost rebuilds them and reboots them as well. Things which have not been learnt before because of the environment they've been living in, and it kind of gives them confidence, allows them to kind of understand the rules of engagement when they're actually sitting down and having a conversation with the boss, and also to sell themselves to the boss and say, look, forget my colour, just look at what I can do.
Very much for that. Now let's turn our attention to football matters and the current season. What are your thoughts on how the Premier League's shaping up? I mean, there's a fight for the final places in the Champions League. Out of Tottenham and Spurs, I'm sure a lot of fans out there would be keen to know who would you like to see get that final place out of those two clubs, or former clubs.
First thing is, I congratulate Man United of winning the Premiership, but I'm also disappointed at the same time because how Manchester City did not keep on going to the end. Really push them to the end, because I think if you're going to lose something, push the one in front of you to the end, and that will move you on as a team, as an individual, on for next year, because you can't keep on just dropping off because they're so far ahead. I know they always wanted to keep on going, but the way they dropped off, the way Man United, yes, they were consistent through the whole year, but the way it dropped off, it wasn't pleasing for me to see. I wanted to see Man City push them all the way, even if they didn't win it, but it's good for your team as a squad to push that competitor all the way, because next year I'm going to push you all the way, and you learn as a squad and as a player, you keep on pushing, you extend yourself, and each season that's how you grow as a proper club.
And what about those final places for the Champions
Final places, it's a flick of the coin. It really is. It's 3 teams.
Let's take Chelsea out of the equation. Let's say they finish third for that final spot, fourth step. Who would you say? Arsenal, Spurs?
With tradition, I just think it's in Arsenal to lose. It's Arsenal to lose, because if they've got the points advantage, and it's them to lose.
And who would you like to see famous out of those teams?
I think it's hard to push. Tottenham played really fantastic this year, and Arsenal have they struggled in parts, but they've got themselves together. I think the league doesn't lie. If they keep on winning their games, you'll say, look, Arsenal has deserved to get in there.
And Gareth Bale, do you think he was a worthy winner of the PFA Player of the Year, Young Player of the Year?
Yeah, he was. I know Van Persie. I think really with the PFA, I think they've got to change. I think they've got to change the timing of counting who's doing well, because a lot of the counting is done way before the actual PFA awards. So I think they should count it in a different. I know they've got to collect a lot of information in, and all the cards in from up and down the country, different teams. But I think Van Persie went through a slight kind of like a month. Well, not even a dip, just not scoring a lot of goals. And obviously Gareth Bale scored some important goals, and it's almost I've seen him, and that's it, I'm going to give it to him. I think. And then Van Persie's come back and scored really good goals. I think it should be done later. Me personally, I think it should be done by the end of the season.
And you personally, who do you pick? I mean, your former boss Arsene Wenger suggested Michael Carrick.
Yeah, because I think over the whole season, I think they got it right with Gareth Bale. But sometimes I think it should be. Me personally, I think it should be done for the whole season. It's counted out too early in the season for my liking.
Sure. And. Also in football, Alex Ferguson's just announced his retirement. Which managers would you like to have played under as well? Because you never played under Ferguson.
I nearly did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
needed
tell me
it.
about that.
Yeah, I needed it. That was a couple of times. But I needed
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So why did you not join United then?
I was still at Tottenham. I don't know. I had a phone call and by Gary Neville, and I don't know. And then I actually think Tottenham turned it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, turned it down. I don't know. If I pushed it, maybe something would have happened. But I think Tottenham turned them down at that stage.
And tell me about this acrimonious transfer from Tottenham to Arsenal. What was that like, going through the kind of vitriol that the Tottenham fans gave you?
I think at the end of the day, you've got to look at it and say to yourself, you know, I joined a team which had arguably, you know, one of the best squads in the world, top 3 or 4 best squads in the world, even probably, you know, some of the years probably top 1 in the world. Obviously we didn't win the European Cup, but squad-wise we had one of the best squads in the world. So to join that and be in that environment, you know, I couldn't say no, really.
Sure. And your England career was pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive, but didn't win.
Well, England haven't won anything for a long, long time.
No, but you know, for me, there are some sad moments because we came close. Even my first 96 Euros in England, you know, just missed out on the semi-final and things like that. I was part of the squad then, and that was heartache. Yes, and we had another chance with Argentina, lost it. We could have gone to the disallowed goal, and that was really disappointing for me because, you know, you could take us as an England team into the quarterfinals. But I think the real one is when we had a really good squad. It was against Portugal, and when I scored another goal and it was disallowed, and that would have taken us into the semi-final. That is when it really hurts, when you've got a really good squad and you know you can actually win it, and you're strong and you're ready and you're firing all cylinders, and you've got everyone else is firing, and you're kind of let down by the refs. That is when, you know, you start saying, well, you know, what's got to change.
Yeah. And if you could pick a happiest moment during your England career, what would define it?
I would say I wouldn't say a particular moment. I would just say my whole England career, the ups and downs, because, you know, I was a great servant. I've, you know, played 6 competitions on the bounce.
Any defining like kind of moments that spring to mind in particular?
I think scored my first goal, proper goal against Sweden. Debut against Hungary was a very proud moment. And also, I've actually played from all the ranks. I played from 14, 15, 16s, under 18s. England B, I played for one of the games, and 21s. And so I've kind of gone through the ranks with Lilleshall. For me, starting from Lilleshall from 14 with the FA to go all the way through to the first team was a very proud moment, because I've actually gone through the whole system, so I know how the whole system works, and that was really nice to be able to have that on the CV, that I've gone through the whole system of the FA.
And the most painful moment for you on the pitch?
I think Argentina.
98.
Yeah. Going from saying we're through to actually turning back and seeing them kicking off, and Darren Anderton just about get his toe away into the squad. It's all over for us.
Yeah.
You know, that was pretty tough.
Yeah, I remember as a kid watching that. I was pretty on the tears a little bit.
Still sorry, if you know you haven't got a good squad and you know you're not going to get any further, I think you let it go. But if you know you can, I think that's when it hurts even more.
Do you see yourself having a future in managing in the game? Like David James is going an interesting route. He's gone off to Iceland.
Yeah.
Former colleague of yours.
What, is he training there, or is he actually running the team?
Yeah, I believe he's going into.
He hasn't got his badges though, has he? What, he's getting his badges there?
I'm not sure exactly the badge situation, but he's looking. I believe he's looking to go into management.
Yeah. I've started my badges now. Obviously, I've got got my B and A and Pro, so that's a 3-year process. But eventually, by 3 years, I'll know what I want to do in football.
Yeah.
But you can't do anything. You have to pass these things, these badges, and do the courses to work.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't really want to be controlled. I want to be obviously number one in control of the situation with all my knowledge and experiences in life, and as football is evolving, and you've got to not only be a good manager, but you've got to be able to understand the mind and problems behind football as well. So which is prevalent now and coming will be more and more as time goes on. So you've always be not a psychologist, but you almost got to have a rounded kind of lifestyle to understand players, because players come from different backgrounds and whatever, and some of them can be quite complex.
Oh,
so you've got to be able to. You've got to be able to understand, but also...
So have a psychology degree almost.
Well, no, but not so much. If you've been through it and you understand the pressures, you know, the pressure is always going to be the same throughout the decades. The only thing that changes is going to be the personnel, but the pressure will, be coming from different angles, and you've got to be able to help the players and always protect the players so they can actually play.
Yeah, you said pressures, and that's an interesting word. I mean, previously you said people like to be put in little boxes and if you don't fit, you're odd. That's one of your quotes. But you said you really don't know people don't really know anything about me, talking about yourself, and you were known as a bit of an enigma.
Yeah.
Is that a reputation you think is deserving, because you're individualistic, slightly sometimes.
I think if I was in another industry, I'd be. I don't think they'd be thinking about that.
Yeah.
Almost if you're in football, you want to be thinking in a different way or acting in a different way. But then you go and play football, and you're unbelievable at it, and you're working, you're getting your hands dirty, you're getting stuck in, week out. It's almost too much for some people, because it's too much. They can't balance it out. It doesn't. What I've seen before, in their eyes, this has not come to me. It's got to be something different. So I think that's the hard thing. And I think football might change as time goes on. The more players who come into the game and have different parts of their lives, not just play football, get home, and they've got more kind of things to them. I think hopefully writers, the sport writers, and the public might start to change. Because if you was an actor or someone in a totally different job, this would not be a problem.
Yeah, football's a very different world to other professions. And it's funny you mentioned acting. That was something you were talking about earlier in your career, perhaps going into acting, launching a line of health products as well. Yeah,
health products. Yeah, I still would like to do health products.
Yeah.
Acting. My wife won't allow me to go into acting.
Why is that?
Nah, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, and too many people in that industry are all over the place.
What about Vinnie Jones, Eric Cantona? They've kind of branched out into.
Yeah, but I think if you want to do it, you've got to do it properly.
Yeah. Do you think you could do it properly if you put your mind to it?
I don't know. I've dipped in, dipped out, but if you want to do that properly, you've got to be working. Just like anything in life, if you want to get to the top, you've got to do it properly. You got to. You can't have any distractions.
Sure. Briefly, now touching upon racism in football. Yeah. Where do you stand at what's been going on? Also, the PFA Awards, they hired a comedian, Reginald Hunter, that was using particular language that didn't go too well.
I wasn't there. Was that the case?
Yeah, it was the case. He used, part of this, he was an American comic. He used stand-up routine included such words as the N-words.
Was he?
Yeah, did you not know about that?
No, I heard something, but it's just people just out of touch. Just totally out of touch, and it's just people who are not looking and caring about the situation, and also respecting the situation. I don't know who chose him or whatever, or did they vet what he was going to joke about. But I think racism in football is definitely better than before. But it's still a long way to go. We have come a long way, for sure. 70s and early 80s, and we've definitely come a long way, and you don't allow too much on the terrace. People shouting abuse. I think what one thing has to come down is the personal people in the crowd pointing people out, saying, well, it's not on. And I think the lower the leagues you go down into the grassroots, I think that's more prevalent, because they haven't got the TV cameras, haven't got people looking around, haven't got too many officials saying what the hell's going on here, blah blah blah. But I think as you go lower into the division, I think there's a lot more going on, which they have to address.
And the last kind of taboo in football is maybe homophobia.
Yeah.
Now I understand your brother was in prison for assaulting a guy that made a suggestion that you were gay.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your thoughts on this? And you know, it's the recent anniversary of Justin Fashion's death as well. I mean, what are your thoughts on this subject?
I think it's, you know, life as I think with the whole society, it's you know, it's a taboo, but I think it comes down to the education of the people who are writing about football. You know, I think if you go into other sports, it's not accepted, but it's almost kind of there's an understanding that you know, really you're in for your sporting prowess, and that's it. Football is more tribal, it's more manly, and I totally understand sometimes it can be too much. I had the situation, you know, for years, you know, a lot of people, you know, because once I moved, it was like everyone jumped on the bandwagon, lying and things like that about who I am and who they thought I was. And it was tough because I'm a proud man, and you know, when people lie about you, it's a problem. You know, maybe people have seen what happened to me over a period from, you know, Tottenham fans, you know, shouting whatever they wanted about me, and knowing that I wasn't that way inclined, probably stopped other players players who maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Do you think hypothetically, would you be comfortable coming out? Would you think our players should be comfortable in coming out in the game?
I think it's tough for them. I think
is it a necessity? Should people just respect people's private lives and not ask questions about it? Or
I think it should be just about football.
Yeah.
I think it should be about football, and that's it. And the person, whoever they are, will show themselves sooner or later.
Yeah.
You know, whoever you are.
After they retire or during the game?
Maybe during, maybe after, maybe, you know, whatever. I think it will come out as time goes on.
Yeah.
And I think players should be, sportsmen and women should be allowed to put the judgment of them saying who I am in their own time. They should not be pushed to say this is who I am.
Sure, great. Anything further you'd like to add about the turnaround work or anything
think,
else in life?
Well, watch it on Monday, and you know, hopefully it'll be a good watch. It's my first one, and it was difficult. It was interesting. It stretched me. A lot of things I've learned on the way, but it was you know, it was surprisingly I enjoyed it, but it was tough. It was tough because I'm just not used to that. You know, if I was a run of the mill, been in the game for 10 years, it'd be a breeze. But it was interesting for me. But it was hard work.
And you know, you've been doing this work. You've been working with these kids for 6 months, following them around. You've got your fingers in a lot of pies, it seems. What best describes you, do you think? How would you describe yourself in a sentence, maybe, what you're doing right now, where you are in life? I think
I'm just a modern day kind of, you know, modern day footballer, ex-footballer who has a brain. You know, what's wrong with, you know, if you're in America, you've got guys doing all sorts of things, basketball players, baseball players, you know, athletes and whatever. They're doing all sorts of things. They're not just doing sport. And the trouble is, in America, if they was just doing sport, they'll say there's something wrong with you.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Renaissance kind of.
I like to do things, you know, and sooner or later something will take over and say, look, yeah, I'm going to stick to this.
Yeah.
I like my wife's business. She's into
interior
design and furniture, and so I like that kind of artist kind of thing. And you know, but I like working in football. I like to kind of, you know, help kids and get them up to standard and almost make them realise their potential and get to their potential, or almost go beyond their potential. You know, also seeing and seeking out players who people not notice and say, wow, that's a really good player. I want that player working in my team. You know, things like that. I like that. I like plucking people out from nothing and saying, you've got the skill. I know you've got the skill, but I'm gonna teach you and get it out of you. Things like that. I like that. You know, there's so many things you can do.
Life is full of possibilities.
Well, as long as you do it properly and respectfully, I think, yeah.
Fantastic. Sol, real pleasure.
All the best.
All the best. Yeah, you're doing great work. Thank you so much.